Hello everyone, Rich Hagon, Pro Tour historian Brian David Marshall with you here at the start of Pro Tour Avacyn Restored here in the fabulous Spanish city of Barcelona. In this segment we're going to talk about some cards to watch. BDM, first question up on the big wall. Two come in, only one can leave. Who's going to be on stage this weekend? Is it Avacyn or Griselbrand?
I think if we see either of these creatures, it's not going to be from people casting them fairly. I don't think you're going to see anybody paying 8 mana for either of these spells.
Okay.
I don't know if we're going to see either of them, but I think if we're going to see one, I think we're going to see Griselbrand. You can reanimate it with Unburial Rites.
Okay.
And immediately you get to pay 7 life.
Yep.
The privilege of paying 7 life to draw 7 cards. I don't know that the pros can resist the urge to Necro for 7.
It's an awful lot of cards.
And you can do it very early. You could set it up with a lot of control cards, Barter and Blood, and draw your Faith Shield to protect it from
clever
various tricks.
Let's get to some colors. White, 3 cards coming up. What do we got? Entreat the Angels, It's a Miracle, Silverblade Paladin, Riders of Gavany. All right, tell us about these two for a start.
Well, I mean, Entreat the Angels is a card that, it's make X creatures for X mana. We've seen, White Sun Zenith. We've seen Decree of Justice. We've seen those cards do well in block constructed events. This seems like a card that people are going to look to either, hope for a miracle.
Yep.
Or, just even pay against casting costs. In a control deck, you get to finish somebody off. Possible.
Okay, not in a control deck.
No, not in a control deck at all. This card is brutal. Turn 1, Champion of the Parish. Turn 2, Gather the Townfolk. It's a 3/3. Turn 4, play my Silverblade Paladin. Turn 3, play my Silverblade Paladin.
Yep.
My Champion of the Parish is a 4/4, and I soul bond it
with the champion,
and I attack for 8.
Wow.
That is. You could also do that with Stromkirk Noble or any of the creatures that gain, Slith counters or whatever those are
now
called.
both of those sound very powerful. But you've also put a hill giant up here. What's
Wow.
going on? Wait, it's not even an easily castable hill giant.
Sure. Again, I think even in that same deck, Riders of Gavany, Vigilance. As this enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Human creatures you control have protection from creatures. It's not just him. It's all humans you control. So your Silverblade Paladin, your Champion of the Parish, your 2 Gather the Townsfolk tokens, they all have protection from wolves or vampires or birds or zombies or whatever, and you just push through for the win. I think this card could sneak up on some people this weekend.
Okay, let's go to blue, shall we? Another 3 cards for you. Mass Appeal, here I am. Tamio the Moonsage, Outwit. Mass Appeal, draw a card for each human you control. Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, this is a card a lot of people have been excited about since the set was released. We've seen, blue-white Delver decks, with Champion of the Parish and Insectile Aberrations and all that kind of Snapcaster Mage. A lot of those cards are available here. Blue-white humans, this is a card that lets you restock from almost any kind of board clearing effect.
Okay. One of my favorite things about Tamio is that if you look at the bottom ability, people don't necessarily scoop up their permanents when you ultimate Tamio.
Really?
Yeah. Because there are wins against ultimate Tamio, which kind of makes her a really exciting card to see in action.
I don't know whether or not we'll see Tamio. I think it has a home. I think there are some decks that are playing it. And I think that if we see the ultimate get played, it's going to be someone killing somebody with a single Thought Scour.
Oh, really?
Thought Scour you, Thought Scour you, Thought Scour you. Yeah.
Wow. Finally, wouldn't it be great if a 1-mana counterspell made it into the sort of the business rounds?
We've seen that before. Envelop, Annul, Steel Sabotage. These are all cards that have had very, very specific tasks. This is a card I definitely could see coming out of sideboards. Something like Bonfire of the Damned is a card that targets players. Another card that targets players is Curse of Death's Hold. And if you're playing a blue-white humans deck, Curse of Death's Hold is something you absolutely, not disenchanting it is not good enough because it does its damage. Curse of Death's Hold targets a player when it's cast, counter target spell that targets a player, this counters curses.
Okay, let's go
Something
to
to think about.
Black. A really straightforward card to start with. It does what black does. Barter in Blood. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures. Another really straightforward card. Human Frailty. Destroy target human creature. Then a not straightforward card.
Not straightforward. It's an odd card. I know some people were play testing it, but let's Barter and Blood's a card, again, we've seen this card in block constructed formats in the past. We've seen it in standard in the past when it's been legal. This is a very powerful card. If there's a mono black control deck to be had, this is going to be right at the heart of it.
Okay.
Again, we've talked about a lot of really intriguing humans. This card, from everything from Insectile Aberration to Silverblade to, whatever you want to get. I mean,
And it
this is going to
doesn't
get
care how big Champion of the Parish
Riders
is.
of Gavany, Champions of the Parish, et cetera, et cetera.
So, quickly, tell us about Gloom Surgeon.
But Gloom Surgeon's just a creature that I know some people were playtesting, and it sits there, and it blocks, and it blocks, and it blocks. In Limited, it's pretty good, but you have a 40-card deck. Things tend to get out of hand pretty quickly. This buys you a lot of time in Constructed, lets you, just jam up the board, find your answers, clear the way. Could be a nice little card for this weekend to keep an eye on.
Some more nice little cards coming right up. Let's find 3 red cards for you to have a look at. Zealous Conscripts, 3/3 haste.
So, remember we were talking at the beginning of the segment about Gristlebrand and possibly reanimating it?
Yep.
One of the single reasons that might not happen is this card.
Because who wants their Grizzlebrand stolen?
Right, I reanimate my Gristlebrand, I draw 7, and then you're like, oh, well, I will Zealous Conscript your Gristlebrand, I will attack you for, 10 damage, what I like to call a snid ton of damage, and, get in for a lot, and I'll draw 7 cards myself.
Okay. Pillar of Flame's an interesting card because it's very cheap, just 1 red mana, 2 damage to the creature or player. It's this last bit that's really interesting. If a creature dealt damage this way, would die this turn, exile it instead. That sounds like a bit of legal jargon, but actually, there's all kinds of shenanigans you can do.
Sure, just think about Undying. Is really the simplest thing. Butcher Ghoul Unlimited. Card's a pain in the neck. You have to get through it. You have to get through it again. Just get it out of the way. Exile it. I don't want it coming back.
Another good one, Soul Cage Fiend. When it dies, each player loses 3 life. Well, if you Pillar of Flame it, doesn't die. It gets exiled.
Sometimes that's a bug, not a feature. Sometimes you want to kill.
Oh, sometimes it's
sometimes you want to.
yeah.
You
Sure.
want us to both take 3.
And finally, Bonfire of the Damned. Red and X as the miracle, red and double X as the still perfectly fair sorcery cost.
Sure. Again, we're not going to see, if we're not going to see tons of 4s and 5 toughnesses, we're going to see 2s and 3 toughnesses across creatures. You can use this pretty much as a great way to clear the board. I think we're going to see a bunch of that card this weekend.
4 colors done, 1 to go. Let's look at green. What have we got? A very ordinary card, but it does such a lot of heavy lifting in so many formats. Cards like this.
Hi, Michael J. Flores. This is one of Top Deck's author Michael J. Flores' favorite cards. He's played it in multiple constructed formats. It's just good. It gets you to your crucial. If people are playing, say, a Wolf here, Silverheart, this helps you get to your mana. It helps you fix your mana. It gets a body down early to get in the way. Just a solid card.
I have a sneaking feeling that this card, Wolf here, Silverheart, we may talk about on Sunday night as the card of the weekend.
It's certainly going to be the fatty of choice right now.
Yeah, because it's just a 4/4. But yeah, oh no it isn't. It does so much for you. And in Limited, one of the great bombs of the set for sure.
Oh, it's brutal.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, there's been a lot of talk about not a lot of removal in the set, but that means you need to make your trades more efficiently in little tricksy ways. Things like Flash, for example, which you get on Wolfrey Avenger. How highly do you rate this? Presumably it's a limited card, or does it make constructed as well?
I think this card is gonna certainly see play in constructed. I think if there's a Wolfear Silverheart deck, that the Wolfear Avenger will be, a part of that.
Okay. We started with a question, which was, would it be Avacyn? Would it be Grizzlebrand? But this is a set full of angels. So my final question to you, BDM, here on the preview, which angel are we going to see of these 3?
I don't know about Bruna, but Sigarda's certainly, you can't argue with that casting cost. A 5/5 hexproof flyer for 5 mana. If someone's playing Barter and Blood, if they're playing Liliana of the Veil, anything that makes you sacrifice a creature, tribute to hunger. If you expect a deck like that, then this card's going to be amazing.
Okay.
But I've been hearing murmurs about Gisela making a dramatic appearance this weekend in a handful of decks. So.
Okay. Well, whether it's the Light of Alabaster, the Blade of Goldnight, or the Host of Herons, whoever's in the feature match area, you'll see it all live. until we meet for round one of Pro Tour Avacyn Restored here in Barcelona. For Brian David Marshall, I'm your host, Rich Hagon, saying bye.